Ooh, that looks tasty.
Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini preview, and today we are talking about Battleground Fantasy Warfare and their not one, not two, but three new factions that they have coming to Kickstarter very, very soon. And I'm going to go through them one at a time and just kind of give you my thoughts. Now, I do have a very old video with the old camera, the old sound, weird angles that actually gives pretty much a complete how to play, and there's a link to that down in the description, as well as a link to my thoughts on the most recently fulfilled Kickstarter, the Counts of Blackhold, or the Vampire Army. Now, just very quickly, Battleground Fantasy Warfare is a rank and file war game. And it reminds me most of Warhammer Fantasy battles, where you have blocks of troops, you're moving them across the board, and they get smaller and smaller. But the thing with it is that it is completely made up of cards. And each unit is a card, and that does a couple of things. One, it limits the size of the armies to this size box for an entire army. And it also takes away all the mini painting, and it makes tracking what's going on very, very easy, because each of the cards is actually its own dry erase card. And you can see on the bottom of the card there that it has all of the space to track how damaged your unit is, and space to give its different orders that it might have, and so on and so on. And then it will just erase right off of there, and I just love it. I know it's kind of an old technology now. A lot of more games have these cards that are dry erase or whatever, but I really do like it. But let's specifically talk about the three new armies. The first of those is Dwarves of Runeguard. And they're dwarves, right? I mean, pretty much everything that you expect of a dwarf, they do. They are slow, they are sturdy, and they are strong. And really, this is one of those armies that you're going to move it across the board for the most part, trying to hold your ranks. Yes, they do have some cavalry, they have some ram riders, which is great, and they have some human allies that kind of, I guess, humans that can live in their land, so you can have a little bit of horse cavalry. But for the most part, they are what you expect from dwarves. They have some range, they have a ballista siege engine, and they have some crossbowmen and things like that, but they are dwarves. Now, they do have a little bit of quote-unquote magic. They have their brewmasters, which I didn't have a picture of them up on the screen there, sorry about that, which they can kind of just pass out different beers and stuff to the troops around them and give them various abilities. Might be a healing beer, which I love, a healing beer, or it might be something that's going to let them breathe fire, but of course can also burn them, and things of that nature. And so slow, steady, classic fantasy dwarves. Nothing too complicated, slow and steady. And the next one is the Risen Kingdom, or the Undead. Now, not the vampires, that's their own separate army, the Undead, and we're talking necromancy undead, where they actually have different spells that they're able to use, whereas the dwarves, their special abilities have the ability to kind of bear a grudge. They can pick a specific unit and they can just go real hard at it because they have a grudge against them. Well, the special ability of the Undead is they are able to use spells. And there's a whole stack of different spells that you might wind up getting, and you're using your command point to activate these different spells, put them on units, and so on and so on, and they can all be very, very devastating. And beyond that, again, classic undead. You have your skeletons, you have your zombies, you have your ghouls, you have troll skeletons that are just huge things, and you have the grossest thing I have come across, which it's this catapult, but it's like a half giant or half troll, whatever, that's going to be throwing rocks. But since it's undead, it's actually, they like chopped it in half and they've kind of dropped it on a wagon. It's incredibly gross. It's a gross army, guys. I'm not going to lie, it's gross. But classic undead, and doing all those things that you would expect an undead army to do. And then the final new army are the Orcs and Goblins. They're going to have a special unique name to them. They don't have it yet, so right now, Orcs and Goblins. Personally, I think they should be named after me, like the Hungoblins, right? That has a nice little ring to it. It's terrible. I should have cut that out, because it just, even coming out of my mouth, I knew it didn't work. But I'm going to leave it in, because that's how much I respect all of you. I'm going to leave that horrible attempt at making a pun. It really didn't work. Hungorks, Hungorks. No, nothing. I got nothing. Anyhow, I'm leaving it in. So please roll your eyes. Please put down in the comment an eye roll because that was just so stupid. Like, ugh, dumb. But Orcs and Goblins. Again, you're going to hear a theme here. They are doing what you expect an army of Orcs and Goblins to do. The Orcs can fight. The Orcs get angry. They will, race and they'll charge and they'll do those kinds of things. Whereas the Goblins are chaos, pure chaos. They have their catapults that might do tons of damage and be amazingly efficient, or they might just hurt themselves. They have their fanatics that they send out there that are just totally crazy. They're called crazy goblins, not fanatics. But they send them out there, and again, same thing. You can't control them at all. You just send them and you hope that they do something. And again, they might do something amazing, or they might just hurt themselves. And so the goblin side of it, you are clearly relying on numbers. And of course, the orcs are a bit stronger, but you're just out there with numbers and you're trying to overwhelm because you're able to get a whole bunch of units out there, but not a lot of points. And then their special abilities are these abilities to kind of lash themselves so they go faster, or they have the ability to kind of do a war cry, which costs a whole bunch of their special check boxes, but then they get this nice big bonus and so on and so on. And it's interesting because you almost have two different armies in there, because I played against a combined army and I played with just goblins, not even all the different types of goblins I could have had. And each time it was incredibly different. In fact, you could field an army of just orcs and have something that's a little more traditional. You can have an army of just goblins, which I had a blast with, which is just crazy pants, or you can bring them all together. So there's a whole bunch of different armies kind of in that one. So what do I like about these expansions? First, I will say my favorite are the Orcs and Goblins. I just thought they were a blast. Pure chaos, and you're just kind of running all over the place. And what I think that leads me to say is the best thing about these new factions is they play like you would expect. They play completely differently. But if you are thinking, if you're someone who has grown up with these kind of all the fantasy tropes that are out there and all of these things, these armies are going to play like what you expect. They are they're not really particularly any more complicated than any of the others. They're, a little bit here and there, but they play like you expect. If you're thinking, gosh, I just want to lead an undead army, be a necromancer and summon these things, good, you can do it right there. If you want to have an orc and goblin army where you have the orcs out there, but then they have their kind of cannon fodder they're pushing out there, and hey, maybe the goblins will do something good, you can do that. If you want to just be the sturdy, reliable dwarves that get out there with a couple of their gadgets that they have and drinking beers, again, you can do that. And I think that is the best part of this. I think if you are someone that likes Battleground Fantasy Warfare, then these are great additions. And really it just comes down to, is this an army that you want? Is this an army that you would like to play? Because unlike with miniature games, for $30 you're getting an entire army. And the amount of variety in these armies, just like with the others, is wonderful. And I love the, just mark right on there with your dry erase, wipe it off, fantastic. Lots of dice chucking and all of that. So what are my quibbles with the game? Just like with the previous ones, I don't have a lot of quibbles because really it comes down to this. Do you like the system? If you do, it's great. If you are looking for a highly portable, very affordable, rank and file miniatures combat game, then I think this is fantastic. Now, maybe that's a bit of a niche that you're not interested in, and that's fair enough. But if you are interested, it is truly a good system that I enjoy. It's crunchy. You can do a lot of things. You have a lot of options. You have the army building. You do so many things. All of that is still there. All of that is true. And if that's what you're looking for, this is a great place to find it. But with that said, you might not want that. You might not want rank and file. You might want skirmish. You might want a few units out there moving around. If that's the case, then this is definitely not even close to what you're looking for. Now, the other thing that I will say is I do know some of the armies that they are going to be updating and creating down the path. Now, I can't tell you what they are because it's not announced, and who knows, things might change. And I know that this is being addressed down the road. However, there is not a ton of diversity yet. Now, to be fair, one of the things that they've done with their dwarves is they have kind of established in their, I'll call it their head canon, kind of where in the world, our world, kind of each army is analogous to. And they've taken the dwarves, and there are dwarves that are the classic, white skin, bearded dwarves. And they do have some that have a more Mediterranean complexion to it. And so they are there, they do exist, but there's not a ton of diversity in these armies. I mean, you have orcs and goblins that are green, and skeletons are white bone. But you see what I'm saying? It's not there yet. So if you're someone who's like, I want diversity in these armies, you're not going to find a ton of it yet. Though I will say, the dwarf army is pretty close to gender balance, which I think is just sweet. I love that. Now, like I said, I do know some of the coming armies, and I do know some of those coming armies are going to be rife with diversity. So, again, as I always say, that may be something that bothers you. It may not be something that bothers you. However, I have been commenting on it for so many games now, and it would not be fair of me not to comment on it now just because I know something is coming. So, just something to keep in mind. So, there you have it, folks. That is the 3 new factions of Battleground Fantasy Warfare. Again, if you like the old stuff, you're probably going to like this as well. It's a cool system. They're good people. So there you have it, folks. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.